This video will be a guide to your shell collections. This should give you everything you need to know in order to do a good job on your shell collection assessment. The shell collection is worth 15% towards your final course mark, and the assessment is in 4 parts. Roughly 30%, roughly about a third of the assessment grade will go into the label, a third into the drawing, and a third into the ID correct. So this is how I'm going to mark it. And then finally 10%, the last 10% for neat presentation. So the reason that we even do this shell collection is to get you out and seeing different habitats. You won't find all of these shells in any of the particular habitats that occur locally, but you will find all of the shells locally as long as you get out to the different habitats that exist in the marine environment around here. And also to get you looking closely at some of the creatures within those habitats, because you will have to search around to find these shells of it. And it's a great help with your ID test. If you do a good job in this shell collection and go through the shells, you'll most likely do very well in your ID test. Now, when you first see this list and you think, oh my god, I could never learn all of these scientific names. You can, because people do every year, and the way you do it is you have to use a little bit of repetition. Every time you write, say, or see something, you make another copy in your brain. Make some flashcards, do something redundant, go over them over and over and over again, and you'll get them no trouble. Now, how to present them. Okay. So there's lots of ways that you can present the shells that are on your list. As long as you've got them in order and you've got your ID and your label and your drawings, then you're going to be fine. Now, say that these ones were just put into plastic bags. You can see the little label right here, and the drawing was probably in that bag as well, and they're just put into some binders. Here we have some put into ice cream containers or shoe boxes, plastic containers, and yeah, that's fine as long as they're in order. It doesn't have to be anything too expensive or fancy. Now, lots of people do like to make presentations that they can stick on the wall, have something that shows off their shell collection, shows people what they've been getting up to at the Polytech. Something that would be a nice display for years to come. Some of them get quite ornate, as you can see, the drawings and the labels that correspond to the shells on the opposite side. Here's another simple presentation. So a nice little carry case with a booklet that goes along with it. So the booklet will have drawings and IDs that correspond to the shells themselves. And here's somebody's really gone to a lot of trouble to make something that'll be beautiful to hang up for years to come, with the little display lighting and everything. Okay, there's a picture of the little display lighting. It's a beautiful wooden box, nicely stained. Here's one with shell and sand and little bits that they've found washed up on the beach. It's quite beautiful. And another one, really artistic, a little surfer painted there, and the driftwood and other things that they found washed up on the beach along with their shell collection. It'll make a nice hanging on the wall. Another one with sand, and quite a simple one on a piece of MDF. Every time you write, say, or see something, you make another copy in your brain. Here's one that's got lovely poetry, and there's a nice little piece of art there. There's one just put into a little easy carry box that you can open up and store nice and neatly. Okay. Any way you want to present these, as long as they're in order and with the drawings and the labels neatly presented, then that's fine. Okay, for labels. So on this one you can see, if we use the example of large ostrich foot, you'll need to have the common name, the scientific name, Struthularia populosa, the Maori name, Kakai Kororo. The date is the date that it was collected. The locality is the Mauau Shell Wash-Up, northeast side for this example. The zone, the tidal level. Okay, so that would be where you collected it related to the tide. So if it's up above in the wash-up zone, that's above the high tide mark, the mean high tide, and so that's the wash-up. If it's intertidal, then you put it, if it's sometimes covered up and you found it in a rock pool, that would be intertidal. And if you are diving at 5 meters, then you would put subtidal. And then the depth here, wash up. But if you're diving at 5 meters, then you put 5 meters. Substrate would be what sort of environment you found it in. Was it on a sandy beach? Was it in a shelly wash-up zone? Was it, if you're diving at 5 meters, was it in a bouldery patch? Okay, just what type of environment that this shell was found in. And it is collected by and identified by. You need to have your name or whoever's name collected or identified the shell. Doesn't have to be you, but it should be accurate. Okay. For scientific drawings, the second third of your assessment, you can go to pages 2 and 3 in your practical workbook, and that has 2 pages that give you all of the rules and examples on how to do scientific drawings. Make sure that you include a scale and a label, and colors are fine, shading is fine. Just make sure that you just go along with those rules in your practical workbook. Every time you write, say, or see something, you make another copy in your brain. You should be getting the picture by now. Okay, ID correct. You'll see that these two shells look quite similar, and they're both Struthularia genus. They have a different species name, though, Vermis and Papulosa. Large ostrich foot is on this side, small ostrich foot over here. Okay, so either one of these will do fine for your collection. You're required to collect an ostrich foot. Now, if you notice, this one has these knobs around the spire of the shell, around the margin of the operculum, which is what we call this opening. You'll hear a little bit more about that in class. Then you can see that this one's a little more angular, and this one's more rounded, and the same thing up here. Now, if you can turn in either one of those shells for your shell collection, but just make sure that you get the ID correct right down to the species level. And finally, the last 10% of your grade is neatness. So in order for me not to have to sort through 65 randomly ordered shell collections to see if you've got the right shells, then you need to put them in the proper order, and that would be the same order that's listed on your list in the theory book. You also need to have legible writing, and if you collect live animals and try to turn them in, the shells will stink. Even if the animal's gone, generally the shell will stink. Okay, so no stinky shells. You can collect, say, a pawa if you're going to eat the pawa, but that goes the same for a sand dollar. So the rule is, if you're going to collect it, you've got to eat it if it's alive. Okay, good luck.